Welcome to the Golden Age of Cardboard podcast, where we remember a time when stacks of cards were held together with rubber bands and Mickey Mantles were put in bike spokes. We hope you will enjoy and reminisce as you come along with us as we tell stories about the baseball cards from the Golden Age of Baseball. We will examine the state of the vintage baseball card market and talk to some of the greatest collectors in the hobby. You won't be hearing us talk about any chrome or shiny cards here. Now, to take you on this retrospective journey, here's your host, direct from the shallow end of the gene pool, my son, Mike Moynihan.
Yo, and hello everybody, Mike here, and welcome to another episode of the Golden Age of Cardboard podcast, where we're all going to get along here. This is a good time of year. I'm going to talk about it with my guest here in a second. It's a great time to be a sports fan, and I'm just going to do we're going to get into some stuff that we'll see how you guys react to this in terms of what's going on in the hobby and how my guests and I view the hobby, which is very similarly. But I do want to first give a shout out to a couple of my friends. They are starting a podcast, and I know you guys, this is your favorite vintage sports card podcast, and it should be. But Mike, who is with Junkwax Hero on YouTube, and Greg from Midlife Sports Cards on YouTube are doing a podcast, and it's called, let me get it right, Surface Issues is the name of it. They had their first episode already drop. You can find it where you're listening to this podcast. You can go out and find it. It'll also be on YouTube on their new channel, which is called Sports Card Clubhouse, which is actually a pretty clever name. And they are doing a podcast. It's weird that we all like each other so much that I want to promote their podcast. And so if you like this podcast, go listen to them, give them a shot. Because I do have thousands of people that listen to this only in podcasts. They don't watch it on YouTube. And so if you're out there and you're in the sports card market and you're looking for new stuff to consume because you run out of sports card podcasts, that's one I encourage you to check out. All right. Now up is proof to all of you guys that dogs and cats can get along, that we can live together. You've got a Cowboys fan, an Eagles fan, and we're good friends. And with what's going on in our world, hey, it's good just to talk to John. Hey, John.
Hey, how are you?
Good.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to another podcast with all the same guests on it, and another thing that Penny Sleever can sponsor. So, congrats to all involved.
Well, am
I cynical? Oh shoot!
Yeah, hang on, Dick. That didn't even take you 10 seconds of being on with me.
Yeah,
to shoot shots across the back.
Sorry about that.
It's okay.
I'm wearing my bitter old man beard today. Well, not today, most days.
You may be bitter and old, as am I, but we are in what I consider to be the best time of year in the sports calendar is the fall. Because you've got baseball playoffs, football is starting up, both college and pro. This year we have the benefit of the Ryder Cup is happening in a couple of weeks. So there's a lot going on, and it's just a fun time to be a sports fan, don't you think?
Everything about it's great. I was in Las Vegas last week and it was 90 something degrees. And I was like, I don't know what it's like for you, but us people that live in the Northeast, man, we love the fall. Like I live for September and October. The weather gets better, the sports gets better, and all that fun stuff. So
as we are recording this, I will show you my temperature currently.
It's pretty hot right now
94.
here. Yeah, it's pretty hot where I am. Well, it's 78, I guess I lied. But anyway, it's a wonderful time of year. Football is awesome. Everybody is still in it except for the Bears. It's a great time to be a fan of the football. That's for sure.
And college is rolling. I'm actually more of a college football fan than I am a pro football fan, which is.
I don't doubt that being from Texas, because you guys haven't had a professional football team there in a while. I don't doubt that one bit, but it is really the culture. I mean, Texas high school football and then Texas college football is something that we don't have where I am. I mean, I'm from a city, and in most cities, big metropolitan cities, don't have really good college football teams. So
What do you have there? You have Temple,
Penn
Villanova.
State, my son, yeah, Temple was 2-0 until they had a reality check this weekend against Oklahoma. But just didn't grow up with the game. We were college basketball fans where we are. College basketball in Philadelphia is legendary. So the Penn State, people love their Penn State, but it just never got into it, I guess, myself. So that's why. Plus, when you have rosters I remember the days of rosters of like, you had several people on the team with the same number. I found that unfollowable for my small brain to figure out that there's two or three guys wearing number 18 on the same team on the same sideline. So maybe it was just a little confusing for me. And
You're easily confused.
I'm
So
easily confused. Right. It's not a long trip for me to get to the land of confusion. So
great.
it just
Genesis
wasn't a
song.
thing. I think that's Northeast isn't. There are some good football teams up here, or in theory, good football teams, but it's really a Southeast and a all around that Southern, whatever the conferences are these days. That's another reason why not to follow college football in my mind is who knows what's going on with these conferences, right? It's kind of crazy.
Right. Well, let's get into our topic today. And I called John a couple hours ago. Hey, you want to do the podcast this week? Let's just do a shooting the bull. Here's an idea I want to throw out there that just launches us into oblivion today, which is where we end up usually through these conversations. But to me, John, the biggest thing that I see as a threat to the hobby overall is this overemphasis on value. And that manifests itself in a lot of different ways through talking about grading. And look, I'm guilty of this too. As a creator of content, I talk about a lot of these topics, and I don't know if I'm feeding the shark as well, or because I don't know. Where do we start with that? I don't know. Is value too emphasized in the hobby today for our liking?
I never I love the value that some of my cards have realized. They're not realized, but I guess it doesn't realize it until I sell them. But I love the growth that some of my cards have had over the course of owning them over 40 years or longer. But it's not what motivates me to buy a card, when to buy a card. There's no timing for buying a card. You buy a card that you like and you enjoy it, or a series of cards and all that stuff, and that should be the motivation. I like looking at, I love having sets. I love having individual cards, but that doesn't motivate me. And some people will find that reckless and careless, because if you're spending money, you should be getting a return or watching out for a return. But it's no different than, going to Buffalo Wild Wings and dropping $80 on Monday Night Football. Like, what return are you getting there? So I don't buy into that. I don't subscribe to it. I don't fear not making money off my cards. I have a way of buying cards. A majority of my cards I buy for less than a penny each. So
Right.
that return isn't real. But I do, I not that I look for bargains, but I don't. There's a lot of cards I want, and there's I wait for the right time or the right opportunity. National is a good place. We'll talk about the national tax, but the national tax, to me, it's the opposite. You can find multiples of the same card, therefore you have an option, and you're actually paying less than you would at a smaller show and stuff like that. So I bought a Hack Wilson, a 33 Gaudy Hack Wilson at the National, because that wasn't a special card when it comes to the National. And it was just another card and another showcase, and the dealer let it go for a song. So it was an opportunity, and that's that. But it's a card I wanted for a very long time, but never felt pressured to buy it, never felt pressured to buy it for the right price, or to buy it with some headroom attached to it so that I could sell it. It's just, that takes the joy out of it for me, the money part of it. I like making money. I like spending money, and I like having nice cards on my wall, but I also like having run-of-the-mill random mediocre cards in all the white boxes as well on my shelves. So I've said once, I'll say it again, all my cards touch me the same way. And it sounds dumb, but I get excited. Today I finished the 2008 Topps opening day set, and I was just excited about putting that last card, the Phil Hughes, in that box than putting a Hank Aaron rookie on in one of my display cases. So call me
That
crazy.
was your 500th set that you've completed. Is that right?
500 baseball set. I have 727 baseball set. There's 728 sets completed altogether, but that's my 500th baseball set.
That is crazy. And you hit on something, John, that I think is super important for people to remember in this hobby. And I'm going to keep using that word because even though parts of this hobby have been industrialized and become a business for profit, no question, but that's always been true. It's become bigger and more widespread and all this stuff. But for you and me and lots of people that listen and watch to this podcast, we've been buying cards for a long time. And I'm well, I'll talk about that in a minute. I'm doing something. I'm zigging and zagging a little, but I'll get to that. But you talked about motivation, and I think that's a super important point. You should ask yourself, why am I buying this card? I've never bought a card thinking, man, someday my wife and kids are going to be really glad that I bought this. Right? And you mentioned going to Buffalo Wild Wings. I mean, you can pick any hobby, whether you shoot skeet or go bowling or play pickleball or whatever it is, you're going to have an invested sunk cost into that hobby. I look at all my cards as a sunk cost. Whatever do I want Julie to get the most out of them that she possibly can? Absolutely. Do I buy a card thinking about that? Absolutely not. I just don't. And I want to get cards for as cheap as I would buy every card for a penny. I don't care because I just want the cards, and I've said before, people do care. Like, I don't want to have it just be worth nothing, but at the same time, I have to really rethink that. I've said that before, and I don't know at this point, I'd be upset if they were worth nothing. I've put a lot of time and effort into it, but it is still just a hobby. And, at the end of the day, they're going to be worth what they're worth, and whatever Julie can get out of it, great.
We talked about it last year with the collection, the big collection, because we had a frank discussion about the cards that were in that collection. They're not. I don't want to say they were bulletproof as far as financial concerns, but they were just as bulletproof as any other investment and just as liquid as any other investment. So we talked about that. That was a huge sum of money. So we had to have that honest conversation. You took a lot of money out of your account, but to me, that those particular cards, or that purchase was no less stable than, buying Apple or Nvidia. Nvidia is a little crazy, I know that, but like any of these blue chip stocks or even real estate, that which can be impacted by any kind of, news or anything like that. So it wasn't, we talked about the money part of it only because, like, it's not like you were buying a bunch of shiny cards and a bunch of rookies and a bunch of that stuff. There was a logical assumption that if there were a downturn in the economy, everything would be affected, and baseball cards, or at least those vintage baseball cards, T205, Christy Mathewson's and all that stuff, aren't going to be any more impacted than some of the regular financial vehicles that we invest in. So that's the money part of that. But again, the other side of it is not worrying every day about whether my cards go up or go down and all that stuff. It's whoever gets their hands on this stuff is going to have a heck of a time. And, I got enough people looking out for me that I got enough people looking out for me. My kids are pretty tough crackers, so nobody's going to, take the wife for a ride when I exit this game. That's for sure.
Well, I think there's two big things that are affecting this value talk. And one is people talk about it. People are talking about all the different aspects that go into value. And whenever you talk about being pissed off about your grades that you get, and so-and-so's grading harder, and I didn't get the grade I expected. That's because they care about the value, that there is a big difference in value between one grade and another, and the hope and the expectation versus the reality. And that makes people disappointed. They're not just excited to have the card. But I also think, John, that there is this barbell in the hobby. And what I mean by that is you've got the super high end stuff that just keeps, going up and up and up, and record prices and this and that on the high end stuff. And that's the news making type headline cards that are being sold. And then you have on the other end of the barbell are the shiny prospects. Man, I hope this works out. The very speculative part of the hobby. And that doesn't have to be necessarily high end, super valuable cards. It can be buying a certain quarterback or this or that, a baseball prospect or whatever, and hoping that works out. So you have this barbell. And then in the middle is where most of us live in this hobby. And that's just accumulating cards, buying cards for sets or player runs, or just because you like it. And I do think that most hobbyists, most people in the hobby, are of the motivation ilk that we are. They think like we do. And it doesn't mean that people on the barbells aren't, they can think however you want to think. But it's funny that we're catering. It feels like the content world is catering towards each end of that spectrum instead of living where we are. Which is, go ahead.
Sorry to interrupt, but the content thing plays a pretty big part in it. Pre-pandemic, I was quietly collecting, sometimes not collecting at all, but still had my cards. But once the content, the COVID explosion happens, and the content, and it's not just YouTube, it's or podcasts. It's a very small part of it. It's more Instagram and Twitter and all that stuff. It becomes, then it becomes mainstream, and it becomes, a good portion of our society, or society in general, likes to follow. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm just a contrarian by nature, so I always tend to go the opposite direction. But following means safety for a lot of people. So a lot of people want to be told what to do, what to collect, what the next big trend is. And as we know, if the next big trend is known, then chances are it's already over. And I'm surprised there hasn't been a bigger crater in the hobby than there has been. I know we've had a lot of peaks and valleys the last 5 years, but surprised that there hasn't been more exiting. I know there was talk about that a couple of years ago, but that kind of that false market thing is still out there. And I just feel like it's, maybe it's going to deflate slowly instead of just bursting. But you have content to thank for that. And, content creation and creators and influencers bring some positives, but you also bring all the other stuff with it too, and, we see that with breakers and all that stuff. And, I railed against that for a while, a couple of years ago, and I realized I'm not going to convince anybody, what my truth is or what my right or wrong is versus theirs. So I've kind of tried to go, back into my shell a little bit, because it just doesn't matter anymore. It doesn't matter for me. As Neil Young says, it doesn't mean that much to me to mean that much to you. And just go back and do your thing. And a lot of us, just collect in the shadows now, I guess.
Well, truthfully, what I like to watch are people that have enthusiasm around what they collect, whether or not I collect that way or not. And
Right.
I like seeing people tell stories and explain why they have these cards, and they don't have to be high dollar cards. It's not about the money. It's about the passion. And that feels like it's been sucked out of the hobby in some ways. You talked about people exiting the hobby. I don't know that we won't know that that's happened until we get on the other side of it and look back and go, holy crap, there's, so-and-so and this person and that person or just feels like it's less busy at this show or whatever it is, right? That'll be a hindsight
There's people just exiting the junk wax era right now, judging by Facebook Marketplace.
Right.
It's like, oh wow, these people have held on to them for 30 years. Now they're ready to turn that garbage into gold. So we you're right about the shows, but the Dallas show is probably one of the best barometers because it's so frequent and you can see it. The Philly show happens 3 times a year and the national once a year. That's a big deal. But I'm wondering if like something like the Dallas card show is one of those barometers where you went to one recently. Has it cooled off since the last time you were there, or 2 years ago, or 3 years ago, or?
It was packed. Just
Yeah.
as packed.
That's crazy.
Honestly. But there is a shift, right? It's not just that it was packed; it was packed with people.
Pokey.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
And just I mean, for me to stop at a table, 1 out of 10, maybe 1 out of 20 that I would actually stop and look at because they were not the cards I was interested in. Which is why I only go to the Dallas show once or twice a year. I don't need to go every time because I was like, okay.
Yeah, but there's probably less and less for you to see there now.
Yeah, exactly.
Dallas was always tough for someone like you and I because we had to swim through a lot of the kelp fields in order to get some sunshine. But I have the opposite. It's not a problem. I have the opposite situation in Philly. You got to really go out of your way to find pokey cards and stuff like that because you're just swimming in vintage.
That is the number one. Like if you were to say, what's the one show that you would have to travel to go to? It's the Philly show for me because I've been to Strongsville a couple times. I want to go to Nashville too, but that's more personal because my brother and son live there. But
I get 3 days to get here.
It's this weekend.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Better hurry.
Better hurry. Start walking.
Hey, I've come to Philly to your house.
You drove right past that. You drove right past where the Philly show was. Not that far away.
Yeah, you showed me. We were talking about it on the way.
Look, we talked about Ray, Ed, and Mike O talked about that yesterday online or on live, whatever the kids call it these days. So yeah, we're looking forward to it. Always a good show.
Yeah, I hope to make that trek.
Yeah,
sooner rather than later.
I'll be down your way November 8th, by the way.
You're coming for that?
Yeah.
You're coming to Jim's thing?
Yeah, November.
Okay. I got to make a point to be there because some other people are coming in for that. And
yeah, there's a guy from San Francisco coming in.
Exactly.
Yeah.
A mutual friend of ours that shall not be named.
Well, I'll share that exchange between him and I. Either I wasn't typing or he wasn't reading. Maybe it was a combination of it.
He is from California.
So he is from California, yeah.
He's a pretty smart California dude.
Yeah. I'll be down. I'll do a quick stop at the Dallas show. Not that I'm expecting anything, but there's a couple dealers there. Or our guy Jerry, the old Jerry there. We'll see if I can talk to him.
Ash is always,
he'll be here next week. Yeah, he's always at Philly. So,
well, you'll be proud of me because last night, I'm thinking about, okay, I'm building this house. I went to the Dallas show a couple weeks ago. I want to keep buying cards. And so I'm like, well, I'm not going to buy, bigger cards right now. I'm just being smart. I'm being prudent right now. I don't know. I'm building a house, so I have no idea what it's going to ultimately cost. Right. It's
right.
It's
going to cost more than you were quoted. Is
more than I think and take longer than I thought.
Yep.
They told me, but those are both truisms that will likely come to reality here. And to that end, I'm like, well, let me revisit. This is why you're going to love it. I went last night and I just started going, okay, where am I at on just the basic top sets? Where am I at trying to fill that run of being a set builder, which is, I think at a lot of collectors' cores, that's where we kind of started. And it doesn't mean people still like it. There's a lot of people that don't, that don't collect sets, that don't like to do that.
Well, people of our age, because when we first started opening packs, all that was in there were base cards. So that was your option. You weren't chasing inserts or anything like that in the 80s.
Good point. That started us off that way, and that's kind of how we are. So I went through some boxes that I had, believe it or not, from the Fort Worth. Remember the Fort Worth collection that you bought a bunch of stuff from?
Oh yeah. Yep.
I had some leftovers, and I found a bunch of 53 tops
Hmm.
and some 63 tops. Because I'm looking at the sets that I'm really like not even close on, that I haven't really started yet. And so I pulled a Keating. I started searching for eBay lots, like a starter set essentially, because I have 99% of the Hall of Famers. I need the commons. I need and I'd just as soon buy them for next to nothing if I can, and buy them in lots and have fun. If I buy dupes, then I just kind of go, okay, which one's better? I'll put that in my set and have the other one and sell it event or whatever, give it away to a kid or that's in my house. I have a box of vintage back here that literally when kids come over, I say, just go through it, take whatever you want, because they're all dupes,
awesome.
they're all extras. And
Right.
it's a bunch of stuff from the 60s and 70s, but still cool. To them, that's like ancient, right?
How come I wasn't offered that? Go through
to do
that.
You got to come over, and you're not a kid. You're neither a kid nor are you at my house.
But I have been there, and there was no offer.
Well, I didn't have that box when you were here. That's how long ago that's been.
Finished my 53 set at the National, by the way. That's a gorgeous set. Every true set collector, 52 obviously is the 52, but the 53 set is just gorgeous. And that's it took my entire life to complete that. I got a Don Hoke in 1981, and it's taken me that long to finish the set, but it was well worth the journey.
Did you do it with lots, or did you do it card
combination? Like I said, the Don Hoke, the 53 Don Hoke I had, and you just build, and the last one was the Willie Mays at the National. And I got it from Ash, as a matter of fact.
Do you keep it in a binder?
Well, that one I don't, because of the 8 pockets that are horizontal.
Yeah.
I could swear I saw a 9 pocket larger size page somewhere once. And because those cards don't, I don't know about those cards on their sides. I don't know how well they would look in the binder. It's funny. They're not even they're in like a 5-row box, right?
Okay.
The 53 Bowman's right in front of it. The 150 of those I have, or 100 of those. 54 Bowman's right behind it. I have almost all that set. I'm just, doesn't matter to me, man. I'm running out of place to put binders, and the easiest way to store stuff is in boxes, truth be told.
It is. Does it make it less enjoyable because you can't or do you just pull out the cards and look at them that way?
They're there, man. They're I mean, Mike, I got 300,000 cards. I can't pull every thing out and look at all of them.
That's true.
They're all, I got some on the wall, some slabs there that I can't put in the binders, and I'd look at those, but otherwise, again, everybody's equal. We're all equals here in the Keating basement.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out a way to have a binder wall in the new house in the card room.
That stuff takes up weight, and then somebody's going to yell at you for having them vertical. Somebody's going to yell at you for having them horizontal. The binders, you're going to get yelled at. So nobody could see my sets. See here, nobody could see my sets, so I don't get yelled at.
That's true.
Yeah. What about, like, you talk about money, right? Let's talk about money, and you say, like, let me ask you a question. Like, what's the big thing about a lot of people like to upgrade their grades on their cards? So, like, once you have a card, a 2 or a 3 of a, why, unless there aren't financial considerations, why go for a 4 or 5? Why trade up? Is that a flex? Is that an ego thing? Is that strictly an investment thing? Because to me, it doesn't matter. I mean, you've given me a Jimmy Fox 33 Gowdy. That's an authentic. I don't care if a 1 comes along. I have that card, and that's the one I want, the authentic.
Yeah, I think it's ego. Truthfully,
yeah,
it's got to be most of the part of the equation, because I'm not an upgrader. I'd rather spend money on cards I don't own than to upgrade a card that I already do own. And I know, well, sell the one you already have and just add the difference. Well, whatever that difference is still more cards I could acquire that I don't have at all. And I've always thought the only card I really want to upgrade, there's probably a couple more that I would do it to, but my Nolan Ryan rookie is a PSA 3. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it. I don't even know why I think this way, but I'm like, oh, I'd always love to get a 5 or a 6. And then I look at the price tag of a 5 or a 6, and I'm like, yeah, I'm good. I talk myself out of it almost as
So
quick.
where'd you get that 3? What's the story behind the 3?
It was one of the 15 years ago or so when I started going, I'm going to do this 300 great cards thing. Nolan Ryan's, obviously I got him, all over.
Yeah. But I mean, there's a story attached to that, and a 5 won't, I don't care what you say, but a 5 won't have that same story attached to it, other than it was climbing a ladder or something.
Well,
and where's the fun there?
So Yaz, I'll tell you a Yaz story. My Yaz rookie, I have 2. Technically, I have 3 because I have a signed one, and then I have a PSA 3 that was my first vintage card I ever bought, and I remember I paid $100 for it back in probably 1982, 1983, which was a lot of money. But
you
thought
guys had oil money down there, but whatever.
Right. That was a lot of money for my family. And I remember thinking, God, I'm gonna have to mow 1,000 yards for or whatever,
Yeah.
work this off. And I did, but I still have that 3. I got it graded. I got a PSA 3, didn't care. And I did buy a 6. I have a 6 in the collection also. And I would never sell the 3 because that card does have a story to it. If you put a gun to my head and said, why did you buy the 6? The only answer I could probably give you is I wanted a better condition version of the card. That doesn't make it. I'm agreeing with you that's pretty nonsensical, honestly.
Right.
I have the card in a decent, it's fine. And it's got a great story attached to it. And I think what I did I can't remember the sequence. I don't know if I bought the 6 and then graded the 3 because I wanted it graded. I don't remember the sequence of that. That's been a few moons ago.
Yeah, you're probably right. I mean, I have a 3, my childhood Yaz rookie. I could tell you exactly where it is in my basement. I have an 8. I have no idea where it is. I mean, it's in a case somewhere over there, but I wouldn't be able to find it. I could find the other one with both eyes covered, but I bought the 8 because I got on a run where I was like, I could start buying. That was Yaz's number, so let's get a bunch of 8s. But it has nothing to do with there's no sentimentality attached to that. That 3 is my favorite card in the whole world, and there will never be one that tops it. There's a story attached to it, and there'll never be one that tops it. So I just I can understand, we're talking now about talking now about oh, sorry about that.
But I'll tell you, it wasn't the money. I didn't buy the 6 for the money. That wasn't the motivation.
It's a more beautiful card, probably, right? That's what I'm saying. We're talking about buy the card and buy instead of buying the grade, which is kind of the antithesis. You talk about that barbell or the scales. The scales are, it seems like the hobby. The vocal people are either buying the cards or buying the grades, and the rest of us are just sitting there like, buy the opportunity. The opportunity sounds better than the card or the grade.
And by the satisfaction of adding that to your collection, by the completionist that's in all of us, I think, to some degree, if you're a collector. And I'm just like you, I want to complete a set. I'm looking down going, okay, how many more 53 tops do I need? And the answer is a lot, but okay, what's the most efficient way for me to get those? And I think I'm going to solicit my channel. I'm going to use my channel because I think there's a lot of guys that probably have extra commons that I could buy cheap. And, try to say, hey, I'm working on these sets. Here's my email. If you have commons of these, I'll buy them. I'm not asking them as a gift. I'll happily buy them, but I'd rather buy them from other people than YouTube or not YouTube, eBay or Facebook or Craigslist or whatever.
Right.
And that would be a fun little during this period of my life where I'm all in on this house in terms of the big financial dollars. Okay, great. I can still enjoy this hobby in a way that will make me super happy. That's not going to cost me an arm and a leg. because I just want to complete the sets. I just want to get the cards, and I think it'll be fun.
And it's not for everybody. I mean, it's not like everybody's supposed to do that. We all have our different methodologies and stuff like that. And it's just something that I enjoy as a goal-oriented person, and as somebody who likes to make order out of chaos. I just enjoy that. And to me, being goal-oriented doesn't mean I have a 4, I need a 5, because I feel like that never ends. Where I have a 10, but now I need a better 10, or there's it just seems like that would never end. I can always complete a set of 300 cards or 500 cards or 800 cards. I mean, I can complete a set. There's a set and a finality to that, but it seems like, I got an SGC 8. Now I need a PSA 8 instead, and then a 9. And then, and then you move on to the next card. That's an example of one card. And then you move on to another. It just seems like it would never end. And you never find any closure to that. I find closure every time I finish a set. It's great. Done. Love it.
There are people that are set builders that do upgrade their set. They're looking to upgrade certain cards. And if I had a card that was smashed up, and I'd be like, well, I'd like a little bit better version than that example for,
I do that. Yeah. When I buy collections, I look at mostly the 70s stuff, because anything in the 80s beyond is in great shape. Right. So I'll do that, but it's not like, oh, I need that, that Rick Wise 76 traded. I need to upgrade that. That's not in my mind. Like I said, and that you talk about looking at your cards. That's when I get to look at the cards. If I come upon a 53 tops from now on, I look through my 53 tops and I find, is this better or not? And then I weigh it. And, it's just that's how I get to revisit my cards as well. But it isn't, I have no idea, other than one card in my collection that I know I need to upgrade, the 58 Lou Burdett, that I never will. That's the only card I know that I really need to upgrade. And, but I won't. So, if I'm not going to do it for that card, I'm certainly not looking to do it, seeking out the opportunity to do it. If it comes to me, it comes to me. Sometimes I buy like a dopey people with white beards tend to buy cards twice. So the National, I'll do that. I'll come back and I'll be, oh boy, apparently I bought 5 64 tops cards that I already had. So then I'll go look in the box and see, condition wise, which one matches up better. So
in your boxes that you kind of call your collection, do you only keep one copy of each card, or do you add all your dupes in there if you have them?
No, my dupes go to, if they are worthy, they go to eBay. And if they are less worthy or differently worthy, they go to TCDB to trade. And if they're not worthy at all, then they go in boxes. And I put bank boxes together, and then try to move like 50,000 or 70,000 bank boxes worth of cards for a couple $100. So, but the only time there's obviously when you're working, I don't even work on master sets, but obviously I don't turn away any kind of master set. So for example, I have all the 80s football cards from 80 to whatever. And there's a lot of, print marks or print codes on them, different letters, all that stuff, kind of like the stadium clubs in the early 90s and all that stuff. And what I'll do is I'll put them in the binders with the other version, C asterisks next to the D asterisks. I'll do the same thing in the boxes, but I'm not a master set seeker, but I certainly don't turn those away, other than the 92 Fleer, which is a pain in the butt. But I don't, I'll just throw them in the box next to them. Sometimes I have to write a reminder and a penny sleeve that this is a variation, because then I'll get to my box and say, why do I already have this? And, if I can't memorize the variation, which I can't, then I think, what am I doing here? Am I going crazy? But, there's a lot of variations out there, a lot of variations, as we know. People have been sloppy about producing cards for a very long time. But yeah, I don't put the dupes in there. That would be a little too chaotic. I probably have about 100,000 cards right now that are in limbo. Figure out what to do with them. I have to go through them, and I'm talking about 70s hockey, 90s basketball, whatever, 80s baseball. There's just there's tens and tens of thousands of cards I got to figure out what to do with. Just go through.
So where does your 1987 Topps baseball set reside? Is it in a box? Is it in a binder? Is it?
Those are in boxes, 800 count boxes. They have labels on them right over there.
Okay.
Yeah, they're right over there. And I have like I showed you the little eight count shelves that I have, right? So I just
Yeah.
put it, I've like looking at 12 Donrusses, 12 Fleers, 12 Tops, and then it just goes on and on and on and on. So I just put them in a box. Those are already in a box. And then I'll do that with my more modern sets. Once I get, I just finished my 92 Top set. I know that sounds dumb. You can buy one for probably $10, but it was a lot of fun putting that together over the course of the last 33 years. You're like, oh, here comes another one.
Yeah.
So that's in a box now, and it's marked 92 Tops with a nice fancy sticker on it. So yeah, I don't binder up anything. The most recent intentionally bindered set I have is the 1980, and I just got around to doing that. It's probably one of my favorite sets because it was the first set that I bought packs in bulk, packs and boxes and all that stuff from Mrs. Piazza, who was related to Mike Piazza. She had a deli down the street, so that has sentimentality, has a lot to do with that, but it's also a pretty set. I think it's a beautiful set, and to me, as you know, it's the end of an era for me. That's the end of the vintage run. So from there on, I have binders. When you buy big collections, you tend to get binders with 90 Bowman in them and stuff like that, but I really don't count those. But my football ones, my 80s footballs are all in binders, but that's I don't know why, but yeah.
Yeah, I think for me, like I think I'm part crazy because I want to have ultimately at some point all my sets and binders, including the 87 Tops and 88 Tops and 89
Okay.
and 2025 too,
Hmm.
and it's because in their factory set form, like the set, I just bought one when I was in Nashville, bought the 2025 complete set, and
Did you
it's
open
all,
it?
no, I haven't opened it,
Bonus
but
cards in there.
I hope there's cards in there. I think
Bonus
there.
cards, I'm saying, yeah.
Yeah, and eventually the goal is open that set. What sucks is the cards aren't in order, so
They're not collated. Yeah,
so
that's
I'll
what
have to put
sucks.
them in
Yeah.
order, which will take a couple hours. Which I don't not enjoy the process. I wish they were in order; it'd be a lot easier.
Yeah.
But then I will proceed to put those in a binder once I open it. But it feels like, and again, this is me talking out loud, talking through my own issues that I'm dealing with. But okay, it's going to cost me $8 to $10 for the binder, right? If I'm lucky.
Mm-hmm.
Another $15 for the pages, and then I have to have a place to put it.
Yep.
Versus, and I already bought the set, so each set you're going to be into it for. I think I paid $60 for the set. I'm going to be into each set for $90, which is talking about the money. And if I'm a collector, I shouldn't care. I just said I don't care about the money. Why do I care about that? Those are sunk costs to having the collection that I want to have. See, this is
But
therapy.
it's the enjoyment. Like, if you get enjoyment out of it, the process of sorting stuff out can be fun. And I actually get some of my deepest thinking done when I'm sorting. But if you look at your binders and you like them being in the binders, that's an investment you're making up front for future, you're going to cash in with future joy at some point,
Yeah, the ability to grab the binder and look at the cards versus in the factory box that they're in now, it's sealed, for crying out. Like I can't even, I could open it.
See, the good thing about that is most of the cards I have in factory sets or factory sealed sets, or even the 80s stuff, like I've seen the cards a million times, right? Going through other collections, I've seen every 81 Tops, every 82 Tops, 80, 83. Like I've seen them all a million times. I've seen everybody else's versions of those cards, and I can't tell you the last time I looked for my own 81, which is probably the last time, probably when I collated and sorted it and put it in the box. That's the last time I looked at, whether that was 30 years ago, 35 years ago. But I've looked at everybody else's 81 Tops since then that have come through my hands. So it's kind of an interesting. I know what the cards look like, but I don't, I rarely spend time thumbing through those cards because I've put those to bed a long time ago.
But if you had it in a binder, your own set in a binder, would you pull it down every once in a while and flip through it.
So, Mike, if I had, again, 728 sets, it would take me 2 years to flip through all my sets, in theory, if I did one a day. All my completed sets. I have sets. I have cards right now. I'm looking at my total. I have cards from 9,260 different sets in my collection. Okay. Approaching 10,000. I probably get to 10,000 by the end of the year. So that's a lot of, that's like having a lot of kids, and people saying, why would you have so many kids? You can't spend all that time with them. And it's probably true. So that's the same thing with me. Not that I don't want to look at my cards, but there's so many other cards to look at, and I'm getting new cards all the time and sets that I haven't had before and stuff like that, whether it's one card or the full set. So I don't look back. I guess it's not. I just don't want to look back. Not that I'm opposed to looking at my cards, but it's like I'm so active, still so active as a collector, that putting that collection together is more important than the collection is more important than the recollection right now for me.
There's an added feature to it for me that in this new card room, I hope to have people visit and come look at my cards and
charge admission.
No, just purely free. But the goal would be, if I have these binders and there's a guy our age there, he may go, oh my gosh, 81 tops. I remember that. And he wants to pull the binder out and flip through the car. Oh, I remember Mario Mendoza or whoever, Jim Kern or, great. Look through it. And if it's in a box, you can't do that. And so that's now how many people, that's, I guess, the dream. I would hope that if I have all these sets, somebody's going to go, oh my gosh, you have a 60 top set. Let me go look. Can I grab the binder? Of course you can. Grab it. And I'm going to have a table set up for that purpose, a couch where people can sit and flip through a binder. And that would be so much fun for me to watch that.
But everybody's different, right? Like, you'll find somebody to want that are fascinated by that. But I have friends, that would come over to my house, a guy like Zach from Zach and Porter or Cooter. They'd come over to my house, and they would Zach would be just as fascinated with my 1997 5-row box that has all the inserts. It's all tabbed and everything's marked, all the manufacturers, all the tabs of the uncompleted sets, right? That somebody like that would be more fascinated with that, because, oh my God, look at all these different inserts or all that stuff, or the 2005, and like, everybody's got their own tastes and all that stuff. So that's why, you have a variety of cards, and somebody can come over to my house and look at my Gomer Pyle cards or my Beatles cards or my space cards and find that more fascinating than my 1970 Topps Hockey, 71 Topps Hockey, which is a gorgeous set. It's, everybody's got their own, it's like a card show, right? If you put 10 people, random card show attendees together, they're going to go, and they were the only ones there, they're all going to go to a different table first. Some people are going to go to the dollar boxes. Some people are going to go to the TCG. Some people are going to go to the vintage. Some people are going to go to the showcases. I'm going to go to stands and look through binders of, 1968 football. It's just like we all have different tastes, and that's what's great about having a well-rounded collection. And I'm not saying everybody should have a well-rounded collection like that, but it's part of the fun of my collection is there's so much different things to look at, so many different things to look at, that I don't have to, again, go back to some of the old standbys, seeing Dennis Eckersley in a Red Sox uniform or John Matlock in a Texas Rangers uniform. I close my eyes, I know what all those cards look like.
I get that. And I do want to have the well-rounded, I want to have the spectrum so that whoever comes into my card room can find an era or a set or a player. Oh, I remember so-and-so, what's he in? And I can go, oh, he's in this set, and I can pull the set out and find the card. And from 51 to today, it doesn't matter what they come in and say they want to look at. And I would enjoy being able to do that too. It's a lot of space, right? And so I have to decide if I want to sacrifice that much space for that purpose, or if I just leave, a certain number of sets bindered, a certain number of sets boxed, or I haven't gotten there yet.
Right. Well, I don't have to plan like you, thankfully. I just have this space that nobody else uses. So
You have
yeah.
My card room is bigger, but it's not. Your basement is way bigger, and
I've had less than 10 people in here to see my cards, and half of that happened that night.
is there just no desire to have people over, or nobody asks? I mean, which part is it?
I mean,
A little of both.
I'm not the most outgoing, friendly guy, so maybe it has to do with my interaction with other people. But no, I mean, it's whatever, you know. It's like it's not like I have a big sign out front that says "Come see my cards," you know.
Right.
It's yeah, I don't know.
I will.
Nobody asked. No, nobody asked, and I don't ask anybody else. So it's a kind of a great.
Right.
It's a great deal so far.
Yeah. Well, I want to come see it again. We were busy when I was there.
I did a little remodeling too, so
yeah, I'm excited.
What happens
when I come to the Philly show? I'll come see it. But any other hot topics we need to discuss? Or
no, it's just I think we've settled down a little bit as a hobby. Either the controversies aren't as big or they're the same old controversies again. So, maybe that's a good thing, right? Where things have settled down. I think people are more understanding of each other. The big topic right now is TCG versus cards, sports cards, I should say. And, that still needs to be tackled a little bit, or there needs to be some sort of solution that happens there. I think Philly has a section of cards, TCG dealers, which is great because you don't have to wade through that. I went to a card show in San Francisco a couple weeks back. Paid $15, got in, got my wristband, all that fun stuff, and there was exactly one vintage table out of 300 tables. The rest was Pokemon. So,
wow.
Be nice if you advertise a show and say that, call yourself a sports card show, and then you have one vintage table, and I think there was like 2 basketball tables. Everything else was TCG, which I think is awesome. I think it's great that those people get to have their fun. It's a completely different crowd, and good for them. But I am definitely a segregationalist when it comes to that. Like there's a market for that. There's a market for what we do. So, but it seems like that's calmed down a little bit. People are finding their way through that. Whether that's a fad or not, we'll see. But no doubt we've been at it with cards. We were talking, like I said yesterday, and Philly show's 50 years old this year, which should go to to tell you it's got a little bit of legs, this sports card thing. So no shame in that, I guess.
No, that's
seen a lot of trends, right? I mean, 50 years has been a lot of trends, and it's become a legitimate,
industry.
It used to be a side hustle, right? For most of those dealers.
Yeah.
Even Dr. Jim was a side hustle for him, and now it's a legitimate business and industry and all that stuff. But I still collect after, not to say that I didn't follow trends along the way, but I still collect the way I always did and get every card you can. And who cares whether it's slabbed or not slabbed or whatever, couple corners, I don't care whether it's soft corners or sometimes or sharp corners or no corners at all. Who cares? No corners are all the best cards because those are the cranes and the Isolays and the and the wiffle ball cards and all that stuff. So you don't need corners to enjoy the hobby.
Well, I may be hitting you up to see if in that 100,000 of limbo cards, if you have any that I need for some sets. But
yeah, got them all. Yeah.
Well,
so many cards.
Well, thanks, John.
Sure, man. Thanks for having me.
Do I owe you anything for the therapy session that you just helped me
do? No, I probably put everybody to sleep. So,
no, I love it.
Yeah, they don't call me
always
melatonin for nothing.
With you, enjoy your Super Bowl run this year.
Yeah, thanks. You guys enjoy the draft.
We will.
Yeah.
That's all we can hope for is a good draft pick. All right, my friend. Well, have a good one, and we will talk to you guys soon. Thanks everybody for watching. Thanks for listening as you do every week or every time I put out an episode. It's not every week lately, but this was just good. I wanted to talk to John. So thanks, guys. Have a good one. Keep collecting.